The fight is going to have to be fought in any case. And I think we've seen that in Europe, where what's happened is that the promise was made early on in the European cap and trade system was that, okay, we're going to impose a severe cap. We're going to lower the cap over time, so that our overall basket of emissions is less and less over time. That was what was said at the beginning. What actually happened was something very different. There was a lot of consultation with industry, and in the end, in the first phase of the EU emissions trading system, more rights to pollute, more carbon rights were actually given out to the participating industries than the industries were already polluting. So they actually had a surplus of emissions rights, and this caused the market to crash in, I think it was April 2006. Now, of course, they promised, well, we'll do better in the future. We know better that, we know better.
They point to California and say it's a model that worked, the cap and trade model that worked, and to do with acid rain and some of the other issues that California proves trading works.
Actually, it doesn't. There are several failed trading schemes in California. There was what is called a success story held up at the federal level in the U.S., which was this acid rain program, or this program to reduce sulfur dioxide. And everyone says, this actually worked. It was a model for what we could have with the global warming problem. I don't think it is a good model. I think it's a very different kind of problem, and there are also questions about the degree to which that.
All right, what didn't work with that program?
Well, the question is, did it actually work better than conventional regulation would have worked? I mean, I think
the counter-argument would be that at least it was a doable thing on a political level because of the mechanism. So if it worked even as well as regulation did, it was more achievable in regulation, is the argument they would give.
That's the argument, yeah. And it's not clear. It's not clear that's true. But if we assume it's true, there's still lots of questions about the parallel between this kind of pollution trading that the U.S. had its sole success story with, and the kind of carbon cap and trading that we're talking about at the global level.
What I don't understand is what does it really mean in reality? I buy an airline ticket, I'm now being offered a chance to click on participating in buying some kind of carbon trading unit so I don't feel guilty about flying, and I'll reduce my carbon footprint. I really have no idea what I'm buying if I'm buying that carbon trade, and how does this, what's the reality of the carbon trade rather than the kind of marketing perception of it?
Right. Well, what you're talking about is a second part of carbon trading called offset trading. And the idea here is that, okay, if it's still not cheap enough to reduce your emissions by trading with fellow industries that are under a cap, what you can do is you can actually buy extra pollution rights from outside the system. You can buy extra pollution rights from people who are supposedly compensating for your emissions. For example, you can buy credits from a plantation company that says it's planting a lot of extra trees that will soak up your emissions. Or you can buy carbon credits from a windmill firm that's putting up a wind farm in India or some other country, and they say, by putting up this wind farm, we're replacing fossil fuel production.
How does anyone know the wind farm actually went up?
Well, this is one of the problems with the whole offset market. Not only can you not actually make the trip to verify whether the wind farm or the plantation is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing, but the measurements of the carbon saved have to be very precise for a market. A market has to you have to specify exactly how many molecules, how many tons of carbon that you're saving, and how exactly are those things verified? I mean, for example, suppose you're setting up a wind farm in India in order to offset your air travel. You have to hire a consultant. The consultant has to say, okay, well, this wind farm is displacing such and such an amount of fossil fuel production in India. How does that consultant actually know that? He has to look at the overall proportion of fossil fuels in the grid mix in India and sort of speculate on what that would have been without the wind farm. This whole carbon offset market is it's very close to total confusion because of the fact that no one can actually make the measurements. And if someone makes the measurements and you have some doubts about it, if you're a customer like here in Canada, what are you going to do? Are you going to sort of make an extra jet flight over to India to try to find out for yourself what's happening with these carbon offsets? I mean, there are a lot of destructive projects actually going on under the name of carbon offsets. Hydroelectric dams are being built in India which are going to get carbon credits, and actually they're destroying people's livelihoods. They're throwing people off the land, they're destroying irrigation systems. They're actually interfering with some of the positive solutions that are going on that are relevant to climate change, like low carbon irrigation systems being displaced by hydroelectric dams, which are selling carbon credits to you and me so that we can continue to fly. I mean, this is not addressing the roots of the problem in the excessive use of fossil fuels, which has to be cut down and eventually stopped.